Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would start another reading vlog because I really enjoyed the last one I did. So I thought I would do one for Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. I've specifically chosen Sorcerer to the Crown because this morning I got my email from Mr. B's down in Bath saying that my latest subscription book was on its way, and this was the last one I got. So this gets me back up to date with my subscription. First off, can we take a minute to just admire how pretty the cover is? It's so pretty. I'm really enjoying this cover. So what is it about? From what I can tell from the back, it is Regency. It's set in the Regency period. We've got magic involved. We've got the fairy courts involved. There is our unlikely duo hero couple. Not necessarily a couple, just a pairing. Yeah, we've got Zacharias, the first African sorcerer royal. We've got a war between presumably Britain and France. These are all things that are really appealing to me right now. So I am excited and I'm just gonna go and start reading now. It's quite a grey day here, and I'm on annual leave today, so why not? See you in a bit. Alright, so it's been a few days since I've started reading Sorcerer to the Crown. Hold that up for you guys again. See, once again, just how pretty this... I still cannot get over how pretty this cover is. But anyway, I am 118 pages into it. It's taking me longer to read than I thought it would. I had a few hectic days, had a job interview and things. But as well as that, the pacing of the book is a lot slower than I thought it was going to be, and it's not quite as easy a read. I do have to concentrate a little bit more than I was expecting to. Not too much, but just a little bit more. You can tell that the author was greatly inspired by some of our Regency classics growing up, like Jane Austen. The writing very much feels like I'm reading a Regency novel written in the Regency era, which is really nice and interesting from a lot of other historicals that I've read recently. The characters, they're definitely interesting. Zacharias, oh, Zacharias is like this calm, quiet, peaceful soul, I think, who is in a role that is anything but calm and peaceful. He is the Sorcerer Royal. He has taken on this role. He's essentially inherited this role from his, I guess you could describe him as his adoptive father. Zacharias is black, presumably. He's African. And the book is tackling a lot of the prejudice against him. It's not just sort of like, the author hasn't put a black character in just for the sake of including diversity. She's really thought it through, and she's actually tackling a lot of the challenges that a person of color, I should probably be saying person of color anyway, a lot of the challenges that they would have faced in that time, having been brought up in the class circle that he is. As well as tackling issues of race, we're tackling issues of sexism within this book. One of the things I'm actually really enjoying is the magic system. The magic system, from what I can gather, the magic that Britain or England has been taken or given from fairy court, from the fairy land, and that's starting to dwindle. Magic is very much only for male use. Female use is very much frowned upon. Lower class women can use it, referring to them as sort of like hedge witches and hags. They can do sort of like rudimentary magic to help clean the silverware quicker, or falling down a bit. Um, yes, as I was saying, sorry, the lower class can use it to sort of help them clean the silverware or wash the dishes or make a dress for a gentlewoman. They can basically use it. It's frowned upon, but it's not. They don't enforce um, a ban on it because it's benefiting others. It's particularly benefiting the aristocracy. A woman from the upper classes, it's very much frowned upon. It's seen as frivolous, it's seen as wasteful, and they're often sent to teachers or schools to help them learn to not use this magic that they can. One particular school that we've seen that Prunella came. Is where we introduced Prunella, who, well, I'll talk about her in a minute. Um, they're being taught what is essentially a spell to help them release their magic into the air for that presumably someone else could use if they're in the vicinity. I'm not 100% sure how that works yet, but it can be quite dangerous for them. So I think we're potentially going forward going to be seeing characters fighting for a reformation to allow women to use and learn magic, which I'm quite excited for. Um, the last thing I want to talk about is Prunella, she just seems to be a bit of a whirlwind of a character, and I think she's the sort of character who comes in, whizzes about, turns your life upside down, and you're just left there in the dust going, what just happened there? Um, she's now traveling with Zacharias, hopefully going to be learning under him, and I'm really, really curious and interested to see where the dynamic and how their dynamic develops. She's I think she's going to be that touch of chaos that Zacharias possibly needs in his life. Um, yeah, I'm hoping to read a bit more the rest of this week now that I've gotten craziness out of the way with. Um, but we'll see. All right, so I thought I would film a quick update on how I'm getting on with Sorcerer to the Crown. I am on page 260. I've got just a little bit left, about 110 pages left. And oh, guys, I'm not gonna lie, I'm enjoying this book, but I'm not enamored with this book. The pace, which started off quite slow, has just stayed and continued quite slow. I feel like there's a lot of potential for a lot of really amazing big things to happen, and they're just not. Um, the characters are bugging me a little bit. I've got a lot more patience for Zacharias than I do for Prunella. Just because when I stop and think about his situation, and sort of like all the racial discriminations that are against him, I can understand why he acts the way he acts. He puts a lot of conscious effort into being very amiable and unthreatening, which is completely understandable in his situation and explains a lot about why he's not just going, oh, for heaven's sakes, guys, and just like laying down the law and being like, you want to oust me out? Yeah, come on, give it a try. You know, I can understand why he's not. So I have a lot more patience for him. But Prunella's just bugging me. Oh, she's just bugging me so much. She's she should be she is she's a spunky kick-ass female who I should absolutely be enjoying her character so much. She should be like this spark of light and brilliance within an otherwise quite sedate and tame tale, but she is very headstrong. She's coming across as very young, very naive. She doesn't necessarily think anything through. She just steamrolls right ahead, and I don't know. She's I'm struggling with her a little bit. Plot wise, I don't think I have anything to say about it. It's again, there's this huge potential. We've got magic, sort of like the country is essentially starting to run out of magic because it's no longer coming from the fairy world. They're no longer siphoning it off to England, they're siphoning it off elsewhere. We've got Lamai, vampiruses in other countries that the fairy realm basically want us to keep so that they don't go and annoy them in Fairy. Um, we've got potential. We keep mentioning this war with France, but it's literally like this. I think it's supposed to be like this constant overlooming threat, but I just never feel the gravity of it. Um, yeah, the familiars are really cute. I'm enjoying the familiars, even though we really only get to interact with one of them right now, and the other two are just kind of there. Sorry, I'm trying not to be too negative. It's not going to be a 5-star book. At the moment, I'm maybe going to give it 3.5 stars. Maybe we'll see how the last 100 or so pages go. I'm enjoying it enough to finish it, but it's not going to be a book of the year so far. We'll see how it goes. All right, so I have finally finished Sorcerer to the Crown, and once again, let's just start this. Let's start this wrap up on a really good positive note. How pretty is the cover? You tell I really, really like this cover. It's just so pretty. Every time I look at it, I just see more detail, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. The lighting in this room is terrible, so you're not really getting the vibrancy of the color, but yes, the cover artist did such a top-notch job. I'm so pleased with this cover. But yeah, anyway, finished. How do I feel about this book? I really, really wanted to be completely and utterly enchanted, and I've come away merely liking it. I don't love this book. It was really easy to put down and not always the easiest to pick back up again. I actually started 2 other books whilst reading this, which is partially why it's taken me just over a week to finish. I've had to write notes to really keep my thoughts together on this one because they're just a bit all over the place, really. Here, I'll pop this down now. Yeah, overall, not enchanted. But not enchanted. The pacing, the pacing was really slow and almost meandering at times, which, to be honest, I didn't mind. I liked it. It was quite gentle. It wasn't. It's not a like fast paced, action filled, edge of your seat book, which is fine because not every fantasy book needs that. And it was quite refreshing to have this pace for a fantasy novel. I did find that the end wrapped up just a bit too quickly. It was like la la la, lovely, nice, taking our time. Bam, done. That was a bit almost jarring. Um, the characters, I think my biggest letdown about this book has been the characters. There are characters that I really, really wanted to like, and for me, character is sort of contributes the most to whether or not I'm going to absolutely adore a book or not. The characters, I found they didn't have enough substance. There wasn't a huge amount of depth to them. I didn't feel like there was a huge amount of character growth or development throughout the book. Um, they were. They almost seemed a bit lackluster at times. I don't know. I feel like the author had this really good image in her head of who they were and who they already were, and we never really got to see the progression of how they got to how they got to be who they are. I don't know if that makes sense. Uh, for the 2 protagonists in particular, Zacharias, I'm a lot more forgiving of Zacharias as a character. I did get the impression that he is an African in Regency England, and the author doesn't shy away from the fact that that comes with a whole heap of its own problems, a whole load of discrimination. So not only is he an African in Regency London, he's holding the most prestigious position for a magician or a sorcerer. So there's a lot of scheming and false accusations set towards him. But I feel because Zacharias has spent all of his life essentially just being as as amicable and amiable and as non-threatening as possible, that when it comes to the point where it's like, actually, I need you to get a bit riled up right now because I need you to start fighting this, he kind of doesn't, but I get why. It's not until right at the end where he's no longer in a position where he's going to absolutely lose everything that we see this bit of spunk, and I loved that part of him so much, that right at the end we got this glimpse of this slightly sassy, slightly oh, you want me to quit? Well, mate, I've already resigned. Kind of vibe from him that I wanted more of that throughout the book, but I can understand why I didn't. But as for Prunella, she comes across as too young. She's had hardship in her life, but it just doesn't really feel like she's learned from these hardships or that they've done much to shape her as a character. Apologize. Every time I film, my nose decides to start sniffing. I do apologize for that. I'm sure I'll get over it at some point. But yeah, no, Prunella, she's this very almost nonchalant view on life that just irks me. It just bugs me to the point that when we've got a Prunella centric scene, I'm wishing it to get over and over and over because she is just, for a slow meandering book, she's just flying about the place, doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. And I just want you to like slow down, take a minute, and just think these things through. But she doesn't think anything through. She's also just feels a bit too overpowered. I think I could tell that the author really liked her as a character and wanted everything and all the amazing things for her. But yeah, she just felt a bit too overpowered. She went from being taught to actively suppress her magic, and any magic she did perform, she was entirely self-taught. She's then starting to be taught formally, and it's all coming so naturally to her. At least that's how it felt, and it just felt, it's like, I want to see a bit more struggle. I want to see a bit more of this learning, and all right, okay, I understand why you're so good at it towards the end, because I've seen you get to that point, but it just felt like it came too easy to her. The magic system I quite enjoyed. It's not unique. It's not going to blow everyone's minds away, but I did really like the idea that the magic within the mortal realm, that it's coming from an excess of magic in the fairy court, in the fairy realm, that the idea that they have way too much magic over there, so they're siphoning it off through into the mortal realm, and that things like the presence of a familiar who obviously originates in fairy court, the presence of them in the mortal realm can contribute to magic levels, and that the magic can be almost measured. I found that to be really interesting. I kind of wanted to learn I wanted there to be a bit more focus on that rather than all the scheming at times. The romance, the romance really let itself down here. It felt a bit like, was it Zen Cho, the author? I don't think, when she was writing this, I kind of get the impression that maybe she didn't necessarily know whether or not she wanted magic. Magic? Of course she wanted magic. But I didn't really know whether or not, I got the impression she didn't necessarily know whether she wanted the romance to be a thing. I personally would much have preferred it just not to have been there and for them to just been really amazing friends. I don't see them together. I feel like their personalities are just, I don't get it. I don't get them as a couple. I get them as friends, absolutely. Colleagues, friends, huge respect for each other. I get that. I didn't get the romance. There wasn't enough of it throughout the book that I didn't really see it progressing. I never really, although they're telling me throughout the book that they're starting to fall for each other, I never really felt it. Which meant that by the end, when this romance and this marriage proposal's coming, I didn't feel it. Oh, my nose it loves the camera. That's all I know. Yeah. Would I read this book again? Despite everything I've just said, I think I will potentially consider this book for a reread at some point. I'd go into it with very different expectations. I went into this book thinking that it was going to be a lot quicker paced, a bit more action packed, a lot more humor. All of the quotes on the cover and in the insides tell me that it's full of humor, and I didn't really get any humor from it, to be honest. But I think if I went in with a slightly different mindset, and different expectations, I will enjoy this book a lot more for what it is. I'll enjoy the book for what it is rather than what I wanted it to be. Who am I going to recommend this book to? I'm going to recommend this to anybody who wants to read fantasy written almost in the style of Jane Austen, who wants a cozy, sedate, gentle Sunday read that still involves magic and plotting and all that sort of thing. I have discovered that there is a sequel to it. I thought this was a standalone. I wasn't 100% certain, but there is a sequel, so I think I do want to read that. It's not going to be anytime soon, but yeah, I think I will read it. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So I'm gonna end this with my overall rating, which I think I'm gonna give it a 3 out of 5. That might improve on a reread. We'll see in a few years when I finally, if I ever pick it up again. But yeah, once again, amazing cover, really interesting writing, some really interesting concepts in this, and with different adjusted expectations, this could be a really good read. But on that note, I'm going to go and figure out what I want to read next, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye!